Hey, I'm Rebecca from themodernbunch.blogspot.com, and today I am going to show you how to replace your own brakes and rotors. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is loosen up the lug nuts on the wheel while it's still on the ground. Don't take them completely off. You'll do that once it's raised in the air. So once you've loosened up the lug nuts, put your jack in place, your jack stands, and also something behind your rear tires. I had to do that on this because this is a front wheel drive vehicle. So I've already got all that stuff in place. I'm going to go ahead and finish taking off the lug nuts and remove the wheel. Lug nuts are off, so let's go ahead and take the wheel off. Just roll the wheel aside for now. So now that the wheel is off, what's going to be exposed here is your rotors. This is your caliper that holds on your brake pad. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take the two bolts off of the back of the caliper. There's going to be one towards the top, another one on the bottom. For this car, which is a 99 Chrysler Town Country, you need a 10mm socket and ratchet. So we'll go ahead and remove those. Okay, this is what they look like when you take them off, just two pins holding on the caliper. Okay, so on the side of the caliper here, there's going to be a hole that's going to give you access to the inside of the caliper and the rotor. But you're going to want to, it's going to be secure in there, so you're going to want to pry it. Put the screwdriver in there, a flathead screwdriver, and pry it up against the rotor. That'll free the caliper from the rotor, and then you can take it off. Okay, on this part you're going to want to be careful because this right here is the brake line. You're not going to want to bend that or crimp it. That's where your brake fluid comes in. So you'll want some sort of stand to keep it sturdy. In my case, it's a very professional tree stand with a snow block bait maker. That works out great. So you're just going to pry this off, and then you're going to want to set it. Make sure it's sturdy. And set it on your stand. Okay. So the next part. This rotor does not have a rotor bracket, so there's nothing else that you need to remove in order to get this rotor off. However, sometimes, in some cases, they'll be rusted on, and it looks like mine is. You'll just want to tap it all around the rotor just to, and you'll probably hear the rust hitting the ground, but you'll want to do that just to free it. And that did it. The next step you want to do is to put on your new rotor, and it's going to slide right on as easy as it came right off. So you'll just line up the holes, just like that. What works best is to actually get a couple of your lug nuts and screw them onto the rotor. That's going to make it a little bit easier for you to put your caliper back on. And then we'll take these lug nuts back off, obviously, after we've replaced the caliper. Okay, now that we've gotten the rotor on, what we'll need to do is remove the old brake pad, but we're also going to have to re-engage the piston back into the caliper. When you take it off, it forces that out. So I'm going to remove the old outer brake pad right here. It just slides right off. It's just got metal clips. So there's the old outer brake pad. Okay, so we took the outer brake pad off here, and what we need to do is re-engage the piston back into the caliper. So we need a C-clamp in order to do that. Leave the other brake pad that's on the inside. Just leave that on there. That'll help force the piston back into the caliper. We're going to re-engage the piston back into the caliper. It's a little difficult doing it one-handed. Just try to get your C-clamp in the proper position before you try, because you are going to have to sort of balance it with one hand and tighten it with another. And the C-clamp, if you have it on this way, goes righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And this section right here, kind of hard to see, but that's going to get pushed down back into the caliper, and you'll see that as you are tightening it. Okay, now that the piston is engaged back into the caliper, we can go ahead and remove the C-clamp. Just lefty to loosen it. Okay, and we'll go ahead and take off the old brake pad. And they just have metal clips, so they should slide right out. Alright, now we're going to put the new brake pads on. The one that goes into the caliper, this spot right here that we just re-engaged the piston into the caliper, is going to be this one that has just the two metal brackets. And it's going to be the big clamp and then what looks like feet. Those are going to go in first. And they should just snap right in. Just like that. Okay. Now for the outer one, has a little bit more of a technical bracket here. It's just going to slide. You've got two spots right here for these clamps to go over, so it's just going to slide right in. If it doesn't slide in, you can use a flathead screwdriver to help you slide that in. Okay, so both brake pads are on. Now what we'll have to do is put it back onto the rotor. To do this, you'll want to go the bottom portion of it in first. So the rotor is going to go in between these two brake pads right here. And you just kind of have to shimmy it in. If it doesn't line up, then that means it's not in the right spot. Okay, once you get your caliper back onto the rotor, like I said, you'll want to replace the pins. If they're not lined up exactly, the pins won't go in, and it won't go in anyway, so you'll know that they're lined up once the pins actually go in. So I've lined it up here, and I'm just putting in the last pin. And then you'll want to tighten that with your 10mm ratchet. And to tighten it, just make sure you flip it the opposite way, that there's a little toggle switch here for tighten and loosen. So you'll want to switch that to the opposite way. and make sure those are good and tight. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove the lug nuts that we used to hold the rotor on. The rotor will be secure now that the caliper is back on, so that won't fall off. All right, make sure your trusty tree stand and snow block maker are out of the way. And then bring your wheel over. Okay, so the wheel is back on, so now we just need to replace the lug nuts. At this point, what you'll just want to do is hand tighten them because it's still up in the air. Once it's on the ground, we'll go ahead and tighten them even more. You can tighten them a little bit with the lug wrench, just so they're a little bit snug, but you'll want to tighten them even further once you lower the vehicle. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do now is lower the vehicle, tighten the lug nuts really good, and then the last thing that you're going to want to do is go in the vehicle and pump your brakes a few times. If they're still loose, keep pumping them until they're a little bit tighter. After that, just drive down your street first of all at 5 miles an hour and do a slow brake, and then go up to 10 and then do a slow brake before you actually go out on the road. But that's it. I hope you learned a little something, and stay tuned for the next video.